Hi, everybody. Good evening. Happy Saturday. I pray that you're having a fantastic Saturday. Y'all, we are so excited tonight to be hosting this live stream called The Power of Purpose. The Power of Purpose. So, as y'all are getting with me and getting kind of situated here, as I am too, there are a couple of things that I want to remind you to do before we get too far into tonight's event. And that is number one, you gotta like this stream, okay? You gotta like this live video right now. Like it, heart it. I want you to share it, okay? You can even get the link and send it in a text and say, hey, they're on. You got to get on here and watch. And then also tag someone that you want to come and watch this stream. Who should you tag? I'm telling you, really anybody, okay? Because anyone can be blessed by what we're going to be talking about tonight, the power of purpose. But also, like, be sure to tag your colleagues, tag your people on your team, tag other leaders that you're serving with, okay? Tag people at your organization, tag your family, your friends, because again, everyone can get something from this, talking about the power of purpose. And I'm so excited that in a minute, I'm going to introduce our special guest, Chrystal Alexander. She is with us tonight. I'm so excited, y'all, to hear all the wonderful things that God is doing in her life and what her journey to purpose has been like. So go ahead, y'all. You got to share it. You got to share this, okay? So as we're getting situated that other people are able to be blessed. Let me make sure I've got my chats going. Yep, because I want to be able to see. Say hello if you're watching, okay? Comment, let us know that you're here. We can also see questions that you may have. You can put them in the comment section and we will get to those questions when we can, okay? But again, tonight is a very, very special event where we're talking about the power of purpose. And so before bringing Chrystal on, I do want to talk a little bit about purpose. Purpose is, I feel like, a buzzword. And I'm glad it's a buzzword, but with any type of buzzword or something that becomes a hot topic, we got to be careful that we don't take it for granted. We got to be careful that it doesn't become something that people just want to talk up and say they've got it, they know it, they're pushing it, but really don't have a heart for it. And my prayer is that even if you didn't come into this event having a heart for purpose, that you leave with a heart for purpose, okay? And if you know me, and if you've been watching any of my streams, you know I'm liable to cry at any time. So listen, if it starts going there, and I start crying, you just go ahead and cry with me, okay? Or just say, bless her heart, right? Bless her heart. But why do I do that? Because this work is so important to me. It's so important to me. And for those of you who have been watching Lead My Heart for any amount of time, you know that I talk a lot about purpose because purpose is the cornerstone of my coaching philosophy. It's always been the cornerstone of my teaching philosophy. It's been the cornerstone of my work ethic. And so purpose is a big part. Why? Because until you truly understand your purpose, and purpose being, what is it that God wants from you? What is it that he wants you to do? And you can say, oh, well, why does it have to do with God? Well, because he created us and he created everything, you know? Now, if you don't believe that, that's one thing. But the reason I start with him is because this is his perfect plan. And the fact that we're here, that we exist, is because God wants us to be a part of it. And so with regards to life and leadership, to first understand that and to be on a search for that and understanding what it is that God wants from us, that's where it starts. And then everything else must align with that. And so for those of you who've been watching that I've Got the Well event, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight, the well and that what that experience is like, that is a major part of what we do. And that's where we start. We start with purpose. So I'm gonna stop talking about that right now because I don't want to steal the thunder from where we're going with Chrystal tonight. But I wanted a part of this introduction to frame purpose from the aspect that regardless of what industry you're in, how often we talk about purpose. Okay. So this is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to list the synonyms that we often use for purpose. So when we're in nonprofit and we're talking about healthcare and those type of industries, a lot of time we use the word mission, right? In business and talking about military endeavors, we often use the word objective. Objective, what it is that we want to fulfill. Whether it's with sports or education, oftentimes we use the word goal. You know, what is the goal? What is the projected outcome that we're wanting? With regards to research, and you know, I love my research, or whether it's advertising and marketing, a lot of times we use the word aim. You know, what is the aim here? In corporate settings, which we talk a lot about, in government settings, we often use the word vision, meaning where are we headed? In philosophy and finance, we often talk about the end. Okay, what is the end? What is the projected end there? With regards to personal development, or any type of cultural or artistic type project or program, we often use the word aspiration. Okay. With regard in legal sectors and software development, you might hear the word intent. When it comes to sales and manufacturing, oftentimes the word for purpose used there is the target. Okay, what is our target? What are we wanting to our performance outcome to be? And then with regards to spirituality, or our religious development, we often talk about calling. So I wanted to start there and just paint the picture that we talk about purpose a lot. We really do. It's something that we actively seek. A lot of times we don't necessarily see it in the big picture of life and leadership and God and our divine purpose. But even if we have complications seeing it in that way, it's really hard to argue that purpose, seeking purpose, understanding purpose, purpose alignment is not a part of our everyday life. Our everyday life. And so if we understand this in industry and project management and program management or management our portfolio, why wouldn't we want that also in our life? In our life. And so that's why it's so important that we start there. So, y'all, let's talk about the power of purpose. And so I'm getting ready to bring on our special guest, Chrystal Alexander, who is a friend of mine. Y'all, I've actually known Chrystal for quite some time. We met at the University of the Incarnate Word when I was an admissions counselor. And she was working in our admissions office. That seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It was. I'm not going to say how many years ago because I
It
have
was,
not counted, but it was
it
like
was,
'08, something like that.
yes. I
Yeah.
started working in admissions in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Through so yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking at
that
the
sounds
year and I'm
right.
like, that's been a minute. That's been a
Yeah,
minute.
it
But
has.
it seems like a lifetime ago because so many things have happened and transpired in
Yeah.
both of our lives, and then God saw fit for us to reconnect in February. Like we have been connecting and talking like on social media and
Yes,
following each other, but God allowed us to reconnect in February, and it
that's
was
right.
so intentional, was it not?
It was. I was so happy to I was happy to see that you had started Lead My Heart. And it was really encouraging to me to see what you were doing online, on social media. So, I kind of started following you a little bit. And then when I found out that you were going to be at the African American Authors event for Black History Month, I absolutely had to go. And I am so glad that I did.
Me too. Me too. Because it literally led to this moment,
Yeah.
and all the wonderful moments that have transpired in between those two bookends, if you will, that we're going to be sharing tonight. So, Chrystal, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am currently in my 40s, and I have a master's degree in economics and a bachelor's degree in business that I did get from the University of the Incarnate Word, where I met Wanita. I am also currently the president of a nonprofit organization here in San Antonio, Texas, where I live with my two adorable daughters who are 17 and 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
17 and 14. Time goes by so fast. Wow.
No, I think one of my daughters wasn't even born when I met you.
Yes, I
So,
think so. You had the one. And so
yes, I only have one.
I'm always interested in knowing, tell us something about the Chrystal that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know. Like, what do you like to eat? What's a hobby? Tell us something about you that we would like to know, and maybe we share.
Okay, so I am studying to be a minister. That's something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I do go to ministry training class in my church every twice a month, God Chasers Community Church. So I do that for fun and things I like to eat. Like I love pizza.
Me
I'm a pizza
too.
junkie. So I try to be like super healthy. Honestly, I do my best to eat well and eat clean, but my guilty pleasure is Domino's pizza. They have a chicken bacon ranch. It's delicious. I can't help myself.
Okay. I love that. And see, that's already two more things we have in common. So, for those of you who may or may not know, probably if you talk to me from any little amount of time, it comes out. But I too am an ordained minister. I'm the teaching pastor and one of the pastors at Vertical Church here in San Antonio that I helped to found 9 years ago. We're celebrating our 9-year anniversary this month, actually next week. All of y'all are invited to come to Vertical Church and celebrate with us at 10 a.m. Let me
I
put that.
would love that. And I actually did not know that you were ordained. So that is one of my
Yes,
goals, life
yes,
goals.
I am, and so I do preach the gospel. I love pizza. So those are two things that we have in common. And I love when you're like, I do that for fun, and I'm like, oh, you know, ministry is not for the weak. It is not,
No,
but I love it, and I thank God that He's called me to such great service, and you also. So that's
yes.
wonderful. So, Chrystal, the reason I wanted us to have this very important conversation is because I first kind of wanted to know, like, in this whole idea of purpose and identifying purpose, can you share any challenges that you faced in the journey of trying to identify your purpose and what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, I wasn't born with what you would consider those like talents, like singing, dancing. I have no rhythm. Um, so I feel like if I would have had some sort of talent that was
Mhm.
easily identifiable, I would have pursued that. If I could sing, I would have leaned in and tried to become a famous singer, but I didn't have anything like that. And everything else seemed interesting. Like all the things seemed interesting. So when people would ask me what do I want to be when I grow up? What is my purpose? Ask me questions like that. It just seemed way too broad, you know? Um, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon My Little Ponies. I don't know if you watch that, but one of the elements of this cartoon is that the little ponies get a cutie mark at some point during their life, and their cutie mark tells them what they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to contribute to the community. And when my daughters were little, they asked me if they were going to get a cutie mark. So I had to work through that. But deep down, I kind of wanted like to get a cutie mark too. Like, wouldn't it be great if there was just like a little tattoo that popped
Yeah.
up and said, "This is who you are"? I didn't get one of those. So I think that that was my biggest challenge, is just trying to figure out like,
Mm.
what is this? It seems so big, and
Mhm.
there didn't seem to be a sign.
I love that metaphor because so often, I've been there. I've been like, yes, God, I wish you had just given me a cue mark. I wish you had just like I came out with a little tag on my foot saying like, this is who you are, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
And I love too that you share that because so many people feel that way. Like, and there's even this idea of like purpose anxiety
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
not having it, right? Or not having a sense of purpose or not having clarity of it.
Yes.
And this is what people are experiencing in real life, but maybe don't have the
Mhm.
language to talk about it, you
Yes.
know? And then there's this age factor too,
Yes.
where we get to a certain point in life and it's like, why don't I still know, or why don't I still have that sense of purpose? And for those of you who are watching, I want to say it's okay. It's okay.
Absolutely.
But what I've come to understand is that one, we have one overarching purpose, and that is to love God and to worship Him, right? And to grow a relationship with Him to the point where we're making other disciples. That we're so overwhelmed and inundated with this great news of the gospel that like we can't keep it to ourselves. That like until you know anything else, I always tell people, there you go. I just gave you one, right? But then there's these other purposes too that we kind of grow into, like to be a good daughter, right? To be a sister, to be an aunt, to fulfill these roles that I have kind of innately grown into, through not only my decisions, but the decisions of others, right? I didn't gonna have a niece, right? My sister did, and so it's kind of those things that come along with that. So I've have that purpose to fulfill, right? And then you have this kind of occupational purpose that I really try to help people align with their divine purpose. Okay. And talking about, you said I didn't have like certain skills that I could just automatically lean into.
Yeah.
And I think other people feel that way. On the
Yeah.
other side of it, my problem was in my journey having so many,
Yes.
which is also really difficult to navigate.
Yes.
It's just as difficult as feeling like you don't have anything to lean into. It's just as difficult feeling like you have so many things to lean into.
Yes.
Because you'll get distracted by the things you can do rather than focusing on the things that you should do. Yeah.
I love that you brought this up. Actually, everything that you're saying right now is really resonating with me because, before I returned to God, before I returned to my faith,
Mm,
I wouldn't have really been able to talk like this. And I think I would have been pursuing all of these individual pursuits in like my career, in my parenting, in my familiar relationships. I would have been pursuing success in each one of those. But it was when I started pursuing God and pursuing things His way and doing what I'm supposed to be doing according to God's plan. That's when I started seeing success at work, success in
mm,
my family, success in my parenting, success in my friendships. I All the other parts of my life started flourishing, and I started to realize that that's God's plan for us all along. That's
yeah.
why He's given us this set of rules or set of requirements, however you want to look at them, to live by, guidelines,
Yeah.
is because it will prosper us in all these various areas of our
Yeah.
lives. So I just love that you brought that up.
Oh, that is so true. There's two verses that come to mind. My first one I was thinking about when you were talking was Ephesians 2:10. That reminds us, I am God's handiwork, right? All of us created in Christ Jesus to do good and wonderful things that
Yeah,
He equipped us to do. And
yes,
so when you were talking about the gifts and talents, I think one thing I want people to understand is that God has equipped us to do the very things that He's called us to do. Like He's not a God that's just like, oh, I want you to go do this, but you're not like equipped for it. Like even in how He was talking to the prophets and the people He called to do great things, um, of in time, right? That He would remind them, you have everything you need. Your
mhm,
character, even your sternness, how you talk, how you, all of that is for my glory, to
yes,
do the very thing I've assigned you to do. And
yes.
so I think that is just such a wonderful reminder. And then there is this other scripture that I had just found right here. Philippians 2:13, it says, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. So that tells us it's not even us doing it. It's God working through us to do what it is that He wants to do anyway, right? And so I don't know about you, but that takes pressure off of me to have to be a certain way or to try to figure it out on my own. It tells me that all I have to do is be available. That's it. Just be available to be used.
I
So
love it.
Um, let's talk about, you talked about your journey a little bit. I want to know, Chrystal, what attracted you to the well? Because I did invite you to the well. And for those of you who don't know, the well is the Executive Wellness and Vision Workshop. And it also goes along with my book, this workbook, the 12D Wellness and Vision Workbook. This is my author copy. That's what that tag says. Um, but this is the workbook, and I teach people how to utilize this workbook. But it's also a time for people to come to the well and to allow God to meet them there, right? And to really search for and discover and kind of get a download of where is God taking you in your organization, in your leadership, in your impact, right? And how you can maximize that. So I sent you an invitation. We talked about it at the book. You got the book at the fair, and I did invite you, but you didn't have to come. So what attracted you to the well?
So, as I said, I'm going to give you just a little bit of my own personal testimony at this time because I think it really kind of goes back to what we were just talking about trying to figure it out and God working through you and that kind of connection, that push and pull that
Mm-hmm.
we feel. Um, so, God has been active in my life for a few years now. Ever since I've been tithing, studying to be a minister, really getting deep in the word. So it didn't just start when I found out about the well. However, I had purchased a home and property taxes and insurance, they were just kept chunking up, 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 up. And I realized that one thing that I needed to do was make more money. Like I had to. It was an imperative. I needed to make more money. I also needed to bring some of those expenses down, which I was able to do, thank God. But I did need to make more money. So I was on a mission to get a promotion at work because I love my job and I really, really, really wanted to stay there. But I needed to earn a promotion. They don't just give those out. So I had to um, figure out how to get from where I was to where I needed to be. So I had quite a bit of fans in the fire. And so when I saw the well come up on my social media and I saw you and having known you from a previous life and followed your journey, I was curious. I mean, to be honest, I still don't know the story of how or why you started the well, but from my perspective, it was a gift from COVID. You had been brought back to the United States
Yeah.
from teaching overseas, and you have decided to do your own thing. And so I just wanted to support you and I wanted to learn more about what you were doing. But on the side, I also wanted to get executive coaching. I had been thinking about um, perhaps getting a life coach, perhaps getting an assistant. I had realized that I had gone as far as I could go on everything that I already knew.
Okay.
So I needed to expand, learn more, grow. So I was on that side mission. And then just plus our previous relationship and you starting this new organization, I think there was just that synergy. I don't know why God put me on your heart to remind me to come because I already purchased the book. So really, you did not have to uh,
Yeah.
remember me in that way either. So that reminder is what prompted me, like, yeah, I really do want to get some life coaching. Yeah, I really would. I really do want to get a raise. And I wanted to apply for a position that had just come up. So I thought maybe this could help me in some way. So I just came.
Oh, I love that. You almost had me crying, but I was like, I'm not trying to go there with them. When you said, like, lead my heart, this was a gift from COVID. I had never thought about that in that way. Because so many things happened during COVID, right? But
Yeah,
God brought me back here for a reason. Oh, okay. So, yeah. That, wow. Then, you were talking about, and this is what I want to make clear for people who are watching, that is, I hope sets me apart. Because I never want to say no one else is doing it. There are a lot of people out here doing really wonderful things. But really what sets Leap My Heart apart is from other executive coaching or coaching programs is that, one, you mentioned you wanted to get a life coach, but you knew you needed to make significant changes in your career and get that promotion. And the great thing is that with Leap My Heart, you don't have to choose. You do get both. I bring the best of life coaching to executive coaching. I'm not a business coach, and I tell people I know my lane. I don't do business coaching. What I do is in leadership development, but helping you grow and be equipped to live and lead with purpose, passion, and power in life and leadership. And then bringing that faith component too, that I know that's really important to you. You
it
don't
is.
you don't have to choose here, not at Lead My Heart. At Lead My Heart, you don't have to choose between research, the Bible, and understanding best practices, what's going on in organizations. I'm here for all of it because that's
Mhm.
who I am.
I'm a spiritual person, Juanita, but I'm also an intellectual. I'm also a realist. And what I have found is that God's way works. It just works. If it didn't work, I wouldn't keep doing it, but it
That's
works.
right.
So
That's right. Wow.
the fact that you have that component inside the executive coaching, I have faith in God. I believe.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful. Yeah.
So you get to the well.
Hmm.
And I remember you walking in, and one of the things that you said in your introduction was that to everyone in the room.
Look for partly sunny weather with a high of
Alexa, cancel. I love it. But she's on her job, right? She's on her
Yeah.
job telling me about tomorrow's weather. But you came into the well, and one of the things that you mentioned during your introduction was that you wanted to have a strong sense of purpose, said that. And that was one of the things I had began to pray about for everyone who comes into the well. But tell everyone kind of what your experience was at the well with regards to that.
Well, as I said, I do have lots of interest, and this isn't the first time that someone has tried to get me to write a purpose statement or a mission statement for my life or an objective for my resume or something like that. And every time I find it to be difficult and also maybe just a little bit cheesy. Like, I don't know, like it just seems like just another exercise. And so when we started going through it, that was kind of the heart that I had going in. I was like, ugh, I don't know what I'm going to write. Like, whatever it is, it's not going to work. That was kind of my heart going in. But as I was writing, filling in the blanks of the purpose statement that you have in the book that you just showed, you were talking. You were saying, think of this, think of that. And you began to draw on my spirit. You began to ask questions like, what are you good at? What are things that you've always been good at? I can't remember the exact prompts that you were using, but it was something about the way that you were asking and what you were saying while I was writing that it just started coming. And once I felt like I had something fairly decent, I put my pen down. I was like, okay, I filled in everything. I was feeling confident and good. And then it was time for that part of the exercise to be over. And I don't know why, but you looked at me and you're like, Chrystal, it looks like you have something. Why don't you share what you have? Yeah. And as I began to share, I realized that this purpose was real. It was my actual life purpose, that I had actually found a statement that encompasses, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but all of the things that mattered to me: my personal life, my business life, my life as a parent, my life as a friend. Like, this is my true purpose statement. Not just something I could put on a resume, although I did put it on my resume.
I love it.
It just was so meaningful to me. And of course I started crying, and then I looked around and there was not a dry eye in the room. And I just knew that I found something special. So that was my experience.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Like I'm telling you, we have a video of it. I've never shared it. I have it. Sometimes I go watch it because it inspires me so much. Because when you read your purpose statement, that was a break in the room. And how when I tell people about this experience, this is how I describe it. The anointing of God was released, and everyone in the room could feel it. Like, that was a break. And the one thing I looked at you and I said, that's how you know.
So everyone can know what my purpose statement was. My life's purpose is to use my skills of analysis and discernment to inspire leaders and to help leaders make better choices for those who cannot tell their own stories or do not, for whatever reason, have a voice.
Mm-hmm. And one of the prompts was, if I can remember, because honestly, I was just kind of going off the cuff at that point, just really leaning into what I felt God telling me to say. And I do remember one of them being, what breaks your heart?
Yeah, that was. And
what do you find yourself praying about a lot? And because what people don't understand is that that's the passion. It's not just the power of purpose, but that's the passion of it too. Like, yes. It's something that literally you can't get away from. Remember, I shared research about all this different research about purpose. Yes. Really great research that the researchers have like gathered together, and it was a diagram. But one of the things I thought was absolutely hilarious from the researchers that they said it's a cognitive activity. It's something that we create. And I laugh because, listen, I never would have created this. The things that God has called me to now in leadership and what I do, the reason I cry about talking about leadership is because it's my purpose. Like, I know that sounds, to people who don't understand or are not there yet, that probably sounds ridiculous to be so passionate about a thing like leadership. But it's my purpose, and I pray for leaders. The things that leaders deal with, the things that they carry, the challenges before them, it breaks my heart. To hear your purpose about data and helping making, good decisions, like that's not a little thing. And
No.
so often we belittle that your purpose isn't to go and, eradicate hunger, and all these. It's like, no, but that's still just as significant, because through what you do,
Absolutely.
people will encounter Christ. People will encounter God
Mm-hmm.
by you living out the purpose that He's given you to fulfill.
Yes. Yes. What breaks my heart is when people don't have a voice and choices are made for them, thinking that sometimes people have the best intentions, wanting to help and trying to do the right thing to help people, and they just don't know how, and they end up making things worse. And one of the reasons is that the people who they're trying to help, sometimes they're not able to express what they really need. They don't know how, they don't have the data acumen, or they just don't have a platform, they don't have a voice. No one's asking them what they want. um, and that's true in just so many areas of life.
Yeah,
And so I think that was one of the things that got me really thinking about, um, you know my purpose is thinking about what breaks my heart. So yeah, I think that was one of the things that you said, and it's amazing.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. Okay, so you leave the well, and so often, you go to workshops, you hear something great, you may even do something great, and it's out of sight, out of mind. You really never revisit it again. It was great, but then you move on. I think that's a lot of the type of the leadership developments and things that we go to. It was great. I was in the moment. Now you moved on. Was that your experience with the well?
It was not. That was not how. And I, again, going back to faith, right? Like, nothing is for nothing. Like, if you believe in God and you believe that you're, you know, as you move through life, you have these experiences, and you're so much more than the things that happen to you. But at the same time, everything that happens to you or happens in your environment, you can take something from that, right? You can take something from that with you in life. And so, having had this experience, I was not going to let this go. Oh no. I I immediately updated my resume, and my cover letter to include my new purpose, and really thinking about, like, a job opportunity that had come up in the same time period. I cannot recall the exact day someone reached out to me about a potential job opportunity, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to take it. It was with a new team, and I just really wasn't sure about it. But I think after the well, I decided that I was really going to dig in and apply. And so that's when I put it on my resume. I redid my cover letter, and I really talked about purpose. The role I was applying for was on the employee listening team. And so the main goal of employee listening is to find out what frontline workers are wanting, needing, think is going well, think isn't going well, and take that back to senior leadership for the purpose of making change in the organization and improving everyone's work experience. I mean, that's like the literal job that someone was offering to me. I just saw an immediate connection. And then I had this language that I never had before. I knew in my heart it wasn't something that I just made up at the well. It was just something that came together at the well. And then now that I had that language, I could use it on my job application, and I did. And I got an interview. As a matter of fact, I got a second interview. I got a third interview. I got a fourth interview. Now, okay, in all of my interviews, I hadn't brought up this whole purpose statement. It just hadn't come up I had like a behavioral interview. I had one with HR. I had one with a team member. So it just hadn't come up. But in my final and fourth interview was with the hiring manager. And for some reason, it just came up. And I decided to tell her about my purpose statement. And it was actually the very first time I had said it out loud since the well. I had not said it out loud to another person before that moment. And just saying it out loud brought up those emotions again. And I started crying during my job interview. Do not recommend. I do not recommend. It was like, how do I make this professional? Like, this is not part of the plan. But as I was trying to compose myself, the hiring manager shares with me that she also had been going through a type of executive coaching with a coach. Yeah. She also had come up with a purpose statement, and she had hers on a PowerPoint, and she was able to pull it up for me during the job interview. Wow. And showed me that her purpose statement was almost identical to my purpose statement. Wow. It was almost identical purpose statement. Mine had a few more words in it, Wanita, but but all of the words in her purpose statement, all of them were also in my purpose statement. Wow. And then mine had a few extra words. But that's something that, for me, that was God.
Yeah.
At that moment, it was God.
Let me ask you something. Now that you've had this experience, does it change the kind of work relationships that you want to have? I guess what I'm saying is, like, to have had that experience to connect with someone on a level of purpose.
Yes.
That's so profound.
It is.
And I don't think people understand that that's like next level. Mm-hmm. That's like where we're going. That's where we're headed. That's where it has to be, like, and not to miss that. Not to miss those moments of connecting and working with people who are literally purpose driven. Oh my gosh. What is your takeaway from that?
Yes, 100%. So I know that there was another person competing with me. You're at the final stages of the interview process. And I know that there was at least one other person who also was very hopeful and going through the interview process, as was I. And so I don't know this for sure, okay, because I don't know, but I think that connection on purpose did set me apart from the other candidate. I believe that being able to connect on that level was that little straw. I mean, because I'm sure the other person was great. I'm sure their credentials were great. I'm sure their executive presence was great. Yeah. I'm sure that they had also, gone through coaching, because, to get to a certain level, it does take work, so I'm sure that they were putting in the work as well. But I do think that connection on purpose was what ultimately ended up making me the candidate. And I am so excited. I just started the job this Monday. So I just completed one full week on the job.
How was your first week?
Loving it.
I
Loving
love it.
it. It's
I love
amazing. And every day I just feel like I feel a little bit giddy. Like I'm living my dream. Like I have the job that I've always wanted that I never knew I always wanted. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have never said this is my dream
it.
job. But having connected with my purpose statement and having this opportunity make itself available like at the same time, and for me to be in this space and time, I don't think that there is any other job in the whole world that would be a better fit for me in this exact moment. And so I am thrilled on a level that I have never felt for a job before.
Oh,
No offense to any of my previous managers,
right.
if you're watching, love you all. But this has just been really special. It
Yeah.
really has been connecting on purpose
Mm.
has been transformational in how I view my job and my role in my community. I finally have my cutie mark.
I love it. And you know what? You're not just, you're living. Crystal, you're living.
I
And
am.
that's what I want people to understand is that I know how easy it is to get caught up and inundated with the world's view of work. But you're not just working anymore.
Right.
You're fulfilling your purpose. And because you're walking in your purpose, you are doing more discipleship just in you walking out the thing that God has called you to do than someone who's clocking in and clocking out, you know? Because it does take courage to
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to submit yourself to God's will. But look how when you came into alignment with purpose, everything else came into alignment. Because let's see, promotion, higher pay, okay, benefits, what? Right? Those are the things that you are also standing in need of.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and God, look at that. Look how it all began to come into alignment because you put purpose first.
There are two things that I would say to that. One is that one of my favorite stories is the story of the potter and the clay.
Mm.
And I just love the story. I don't know if you recall where God is saying that I am the potter and you are the clay. And he molds the clay into what he wants it to be. And even though the dish that the potter was making got marred,
Oh,
um, there's so much to unpack there.
there
Even though it was
is.
marred, God still uses it. So one thing about pottery and molding clay is that a certain amount of resistance is required. A certain amount of friction is required to mold clay into a pot. It's about submitting to God's will and trusting the process, yes,
Oh,
but it's also about putting up that fight,
yeah.
about having that desire for higher pay, and then doing things, working at it, building connections, updating your resume, going and talking to your pastor. I mean, I did. I went and talked to my pastor and I asked for her help, and she connected me with an organization called Black on the Job, and they reviewed my resume. So I also got a resume review, and they offered me some ways to update my resume, and I took that advice. The person that offered me the job, asked me to apply for the job, I should say, she found out about me through a networking colleague. So one of my colleagues had recommended me, had talked about me when I wasn't there, and recommended that I would be a good fit for this job because she also knew what I was working on. So just networking, letting people know what you're into. But there's absolutely no way I could have known when I met you
Mm.
that you would eventually have an organization called Lead My Heart, and Lead My Heart would eventually have sessions called The Well, and I would eventually attend one. I couldn't have planned this out in my 10-year plan for things to go like this. I had to just keep pushing, and all the while, God was shaping me. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I would say about this. And the second thing that I would say is, of all of the things that have happened, the thing that I am most proud of is that my daughters are proud of me. They have seen my struggle. They have seen, no one knows you like your children, and maybe your spouse if you are lucky enough to live with a spouse. But it's just me and my children, and they know me better than anyone else. And for them to be genuinely proud of me is priceless, Juanita.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we talked before, I said, because it all goes together.
Yeah.
And so often we're quick to want to put work in a box, parenting in a box, marriage in all these different boxes, as if one doesn't affect the other. And
Yeah.
we talked about the importance of being holistic and understanding how one dimension of wellness affects another dimension of wellness, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
this just wasn't a work blessing. This was a blessing to your life. This
Yes.
is a blessing to your children. This is a blessing to your finances, to be able to do more and have what you need, and provide them with other, great opportunities, and all of it,
Hmm.
because you, again, you prioritize what God made you for.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
doesn't, you don't have to choose. You don't, because when you choose well, everything else goes with it.
Yes.
Like everything else. And so, oh my gosh, what an incredible testimony. And I wanted to ask you too. So, moving forward, how does this experience change how you would work with your team? Maybe how it would change or impact the conversations you have, and what do you think that looks like for you?
I think one of the things that I keep coming back to is just, you know, I loved that you talked about how this is holistic. I think in one phase of my life, I would have compartmentalized and tried to keep the other parts of my life separate from work. But now I think I am a little bit freer, I guess, to say like that I am a minister and I am studying to get ordained, or to say that I am a parent. I mean, which can also be kind of hard when you're at work to talk about what it's like to be a mother, but just to accept that I am and I can balance all of those things in my life, and experience success in each one of them, maybe to varying degrees at times, but to experience success in each one of these areas and allow all of the different parts of my life to be who I am,
I
right?
love it.
um, and to allow myself to be a multifaceted person. And I think that that has really, really helped in my work relationships, because other people, they also want to show up as whole people. They want
Mm,
to show up with all the parts of their lives as well. And so realizing that I have a story to tell, um, other people also have stories to tell, and allowing us to each be individuals and to let our light, our stories shine through. I think that's an important part of work that has only recently begun to come into fullness in my own life.
wow. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You have shared so many wonderful nuggets, and I know so many people, myself included, have been truly blessed by hearing your testimony. So thank you so much for even being willing to share. I think so often things like this are happening to people, but we don't really take the opportunity to share it,
Yeah.
and allow people to hear the challenges, the struggle behind the blessing.
Yeah.
Because they walk together. The thing that makes the blessing so good is the struggle that it took to come into it, right? Like when you're talking about LMH being a blessing, like from COVID, a gift from COVID, I was just like, y'all don't even know a whole nother lot about how all of that came into be. And ultimately, I had to practice what I preach, and that is submit to the will of God and what He purposed me for. This was not my dream, but it's what I had to do. It's what I had to do. And we're sitting here talking about the blessings that you've come in, and I'm just thankful that I got to play a small role in whatever way, right? And helping you fulfill all that God has called you to in this season. So
I
thank you
mean,
so much
Juanita,
for coming.
let's not mince words. My life has been changed from this experience at the well. I want you to know that. And I'm definitely not exaggerating. Um, this experience changed my life, which is why I wanted to come and do this with you today, just to share with other people that your life can be changed in an encounter that you weren't expecting. Sometimes being willing to say yes to an invitation to a book fair can lead you to a seminar that leads you to your life purpose, that leads you to a job that's better than anything that you could have imagined or dreamed of, that has your teenage children looking at you saying, "I'm proud of you, Mom." So you changed my life with the mission that God has called you to do, and my life matters. And so I'm grateful to you that you're here, and that I'm grateful for your yes, because I don't know how God would have worked in me had you not said yes, but because you said yes,
Mm.
my life will never be the same. And I'm only in my 40s, so hopefully I got a lot of life left to go. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Because your life does matter. And it brings me back to the series I did earlier this year called The One. So often we get caught up on big numbers, right? If 1,000 people aren't showing up, or if a million people aren't following you, is it really that effective? And that's kind of like what culture says. It's just like, oh, you got to have the numbers, you got to have the line standing down, for it to be something or look like something. And this is just God confirming that, y'all, we got to be willing to show up for the one. Because, Chrystal, you're going to touch so many lives, not just in ministry, not just in being who you are, but also in the work that you do every single day. And let's not make that a little thing, because that's where we spend most of our waking hours.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to touch lives. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that the lives that my life has touched, because my life touched yours and the work that I do. So
It multiplies. Yes, it
it
does.
multiplies.
God is
It
good.
multiplies. Oh, y'all. So we're gonna end it here. For those of you who've been watching, please comment, let us know, how did this live stream event impact you? Talking about the power of purpose. Hi, Malika. I'm so glad that you had a chance to watch. Thank you so much. Y'all, please share this stream. Tag people who got to come on here and watch this at a later time. And I have to invite you to the well. We do have an event on this next Thursday, June 27th from 10 to 2 at Mills on Wheels. And then I just added a Saturday date, August 17th, that will be at Bibliotech East. And you can go register at leadmyheart.com/LMH events. Okay. So go check it out. And also stay tuned for other events that I will host. But if I will just say this won't be for everyone. But if God is nudging you, if you be a part of this and to be a part of the community that I'm building with LMH of like-minded, purpose-driven leaders, please come and don't tarry in coming. Okay. And I look forward to learning from you as well and just being a part of the work that you're doing. So, Chrystal, is there anything you would like to say as we end?
I just want to thank you for having me, and I want to thank my pastors, Tabitha and Dante Banks, for all of their support. And yeah, I am just excited to see what you're going to be doing in the future. Please keep me informed. Looking forward to it.
Yay, wonderful. And thank you so much for joining, y'all. And then also feel free to reach out to me at leadmyheart.com if any questions or concerns that you have, or want to know about more of my programmings, or want to invite me to be a keynote speaker to your event. You can also email me at contact@leadmyheart.com. Well, y'all, that concludes our program this evening. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, to love God and love people. Goodbye.